Nvidia is the new king of Wall Street, but could it really rally to $4,000 a share? Wow, that's a big number. One analyst thinks so. Nvidia market cap can more than triple to 10 trillion as it enjoys impenetrable advantages over other AI rivals. Jensen just gave his keynote address at COMPUTEX 2024, and man, there's some really big takeaways. What I really want to do is step back for a moment to understand that it really has to be 1995 for this to happen. We also have to be early into the bell curve of adoption, which it looks like we are, and I will show you that right now. I'm also looking at the technical setup, 1995 on the left versus 2020s on the right. Remember, we went up by more than 220% after this pattern played out. So now fundamentals and technicals are starting to align. And as we talked about, Jensen appears like he might create the world's most valuable company. He's closing in on Microsoft and Apple. And one analyst thinks the stock could triple to 10 trillion. All right, so now let's look at some evidence here, at least from some analysts. What does Tom Lee have to say, the biggest bull on Wall Street? Well, he says that a global labor shortage will send tech stocks soaring, with the S&P poised to grow to 50% of the entire market. He thinks that the NASDAQ's going to grow to become 50% of the stock market, which means if that's going to happen, Nvidia's likely going to have to go a lot higher, like 10 trillion. That's a really huge number, though. He thinks that technology stocks are going to benefit from a technology boom, which really means that we have a global labor shortage of roughly 80 million workers by the end of 2030. And the reason why this is so incredible is because look here to Nvidia. They're comparing it to Cisco going back to the late 1990s. And it looks like, at least for now, we're roughly here. Here, it looks like we're closer to 1999. And again, this is where it's not exactly black and white. It's a little bit gray. But if Nvidia does triple, it would be roughly where Cisco was at its peak at over 100 PE. Okay. Remember, after we close 5% higher in May, on average, the S&P returns 9% for June as well. So what Jensen had to say at that keynote address really matters. And I want you to think about where we were only about a year ago. Watch Will Smith eating spaghetti here, right? This looks really fake. You can clearly tell it's not generated by something that looks more humanoid. Like, look, it's just terrible. Anyways, moving forward to the address from today, we'll watch this video here. Here they're talking about something called digital humans. Look at this AI avatar here, right? This looks a lot more real. Does it look perfect? No. It looks 1,000% better than what Will Smith did, though. So what does this mean? It means that maybe we're really going into a new era where AI is going to have a lot more applications than just selling chips like Nvidia has. I watched this video, and it shows how this creator, it took him 2 hours to create $220,000 with AI videos. This seems like a productivity boom, and it really comes down to Moore's Law. What is Moore's Law? You should know it's for computing, which basically means that we get increased capacity every year. Look at what Jensen talked about today. DGX Blackwell versus DGX Hopper. Whoa, like 9 to 10 times more powerful. And what he really focused on was that the power is going to take a lot less relative to the gains we're going to get from other things like AI flops. What does all this stuff mean? Man, it means Nvidia stock is likely going to go mega big up. That's how it could go to 10 trillion. That's how we could actually have the labor market actually get a little bit looser, because now we're actually going to be competing with some robots. I'll show you a few more things here, but just before we go further, let's look at what's coming up for this week, which includes interest rate decisions from the Bank of Canada, from the ECB, and then payroll on Friday. We know that payroll is important, but let's make sure we don't overlook what could happen if we actually get cuts from the Bank of Canada and then also from the ECB. Well, we talked about it earlier in the week, and I've summarized all those dates here because, wow, what if everything turns out really bullish? We get some cuts, we get payroll Friday, nice, not terrible number, right? Data's been pretty terrible lately. Then we got Apple on the 10th, WWDC. Then we hear from Jerome, and we have CPI on the 12th. Then we got a presidential debate. Then it's the end of the quarter. Whoa, right? This is going to be a huge, huge, huge month. I'm trying not to put my bull blinders on, but as I go through and look at more of this data, like, it's getting hard for me to not really go back to what I laid out in 2024, when I felt a little bit silly calling for a target of 6,200 and also for 5,600, right? I didn't know we were going to get here. I'm still not sure we will. And I do have a couple of charts I want to show you, but what it really comes down to is, all right, the chart broke. Let's go back to here. Fantastic. Thank you, TradingView. I'm just going to push forward. Maybe that's a great time to ask for a smash of the thumbs up or consider subscribing to the channel if you're enjoying the content. Let's go here to SPX on a 3-month chart. Why? I want you to look at the percent returns, 0.44. What does that mean? We're churning, right? We're going sideways. As we look at the next chart here, or the NASDAQ, up by 0.82. We're just looking at the number right here. If we go down to a lot of these ETFs, we're really not going anywhere in the last 90 days. RSP down 2%. The Dow Jones down by 2. We look at SMH up. The only other one which is really doing well is utilities, as it's gearing up for this AI boom, up by 10%. A lot of other ETFs don't look great. They're down a couple of percent, or they're down a lot if they're ARK, right? Negative 15. There's no innovation here. So what this really means is that under the surface, there is a lot of movement, but net effect, stocks aren't really going anywhere. Let's clean this up a little bit. Big guys, small guys. So these big guys here look pretty green. Nvidia up by 37 in the last 90 days, roughly 3 months. Apple, Google looking okay. Microsoft, Amazon flattening out. Meta red. And a lot of these blocks that are red are offsetting the gains from here. That's why the S&P is basically flat. So after what we heard from Jensen, I'm like, oh my God, right? Now I can tell a little bit of a bull story. And what this really comes down to is this. Let's go back here to the beginning, and let's go back here to watch. We talked about this AI robot thing. I just want to play a couple of quick clips here. So here they're showing how we could have a digital human where it could do things like, actually, let me do this. I'm gonna share my screen. We're gonna go watch this video here from Jensen, and fast forward to a few parts, because I think this is really compelling, and I think you're really going to understand what the AI story is when we think about where Will Smith was only a little while ago, right? Compared to where we are now. Let me just see if I can jump forward here. Let me see. Let me go back. Thank you for your patience on this too. I'm winging this. It's later on a Sunday, and just trying to make sure I get this video out here. So let me pull that one up. This is where we were a year ago, right? 2023. This looks terrible. I'd be like, wow, AI, that seems like a joke. Kind of like Tesla looked like like it was a joke, right? What is this crap on his face? Anyways, let's watch the one here from Nvidia. Here we go. All right, Jensen, take it away. Hopefully it should be playing video now too. Let's go.
We bought Mel. You could teach an AI model physics. The AI model could learn the meaning of.
Just as LLMs need RLHF, or reinforcement learning from human feedback, to learn particular skills, generative physical AI can learn skills using reinforcement learning from physics feedback in a simulated world. These simulation environments are where robots learn to make decisions by performing actions in a virtual world that obeys the laws of physics. In these robot gyms, a robot can learn to perform complex and dynamic tasks safely and quickly, refining their skills through millions of acts of trial and error. We built NVIDIA Omniverse as the operating system where physical AIs can be created. Omniverse is a development platform for virtual world simulation, combining real-time, physically based rendering, physics simulation, and generative AI technologies. In Omniverse, robots can learn how to be robots. They learn how to autonomously manipulate objects with precision, such as grasping and handling objects, or navigate environments autonomously, finding optimal paths while avoiding obstacles and hazards. Learning in Omniverse minimizes the sim-to-real gap and maximizes the transfer of learned behavior. Building robots with generative physical AI requires 3 computers: NVIDIA AI supercomputers to train the models, NVIDIA Jetson Orin and next-generation Jetson Thor robotic supercomputer to run the models, and NVIDIA Omniverse, where robots can learn and refine their skills in simulated worlds. We build the platforms, acceleration libraries, and AI models needed by developers and companies, and allow them to use any or all of the stacks that suit them best. The next wave of AI is here. Robotics, powered by physical AI, will revolutionize industries. Logistics. Intrinsic, an Alphabet company, is adopting Isaac
Products. One, of course,
COMPUTEX.
we built a is very similar to Fleet and after
Omniverse. Foxconn builds their robotic factory X, and Autodesk Revit. In the digital twin, AI models for automated optical inspection for object identification, defect detection.
Two omniverses will come together.
Anyway, so what I just want to show you, there's still a lot to go through. This is literally from today. So I'm gonna have to go through and read more on this, but I'm trying to understand how we could actually get that mega big rally that I just talked about. How could Nvidia really triple from here? I'm like, wow, that's like a big number, $10 trillion. But I think this is looking a lot more real. And if you want to subscribe to the channel, I will cover this more frequently. And that's really what I want to talk about. So I want to see some breadth and depth as we go through the week, notably because we have a couple of key things to get through. We got the rate decisions, we got payroll Friday, then we got Apple to look forward to, along with Jerome Powell. So I'm going to be watching for these key areas. I want to see the NASDAQ break to a monthly higher high above 448. And I also want to see the S&P above 534. It's not asking for so much. And with that said, thank you so very much for tuning in. You can watch the video on the left, or maybe you want to click on the right to subscribe and hang out with me on Monday.